Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. My name is Layla Lavender and today I'm going to be giving you my step-by-step process on how to become a burlesque showgirl in just 1 year. To give you a little backstory on who I am, I have been performing and dancing burlesque since 2018, and before that I was a Latin ballroom dancer for 8 years. So I've been in the dance industry for a while, but burlesque and heels are my true passions. I love these forms of movement so much, and I actually just produced a burlesque cabaret show called Dreamland Cabaret. It was my second sold out burlesque show here in Asheville, North Carolina. It was so incredible, and I have been working one-on-one with a lot of dancers to help them become burlesque performers and showgirls, and I've really taken not only myself through this process, but so many of my students through this process. And so I'm going to give you the full breakdown of how I did it and how you can do it too. It's truly my most asked question in my Instagram DMs and here on YouTube is, I want to become a burlesque performer. How do I do it? And this is the process. This is how you get from maybe being a newcomer performer, maybe having no dance experience at all, to become a burlesque performer, to become a showgirl. Honestly, that's why I love burlesque so much, because it's so open to all experience levels, and even if you're a new dancer, burlesque is a place for you, because burlesque is so focused on the characterization and the art of tease. And even though, of course, there is dancing and technique in burlesque, but the most important thing is the performance. If you can teach yourself to become a good performer, that is how you are really going to shine in this industry. And even though it is open to all levels, and I believe anyone can be a burlesque performer, there are some important steps to get there. So without further ado, let's get to it. The first and most important step is to get started and start taking class and training in burlesque. So when I first started taking burlesque classes, it was a little bit scary to sign up for my first class, but once I did it, once I put myself out there, I immediately fell in love. And what you will notice about the burlesque community, for the most part, is that they are very open and loving and accepting. So when you go to your first class, there are no expectations for you to be amazing. People understand that there are people of all levels and all experiences and backgrounds coming into a burlesque class. So as an instructor, I always take that into consideration when I have a class. And I'm open to people coming in that have never had dance experience before, or people that are seasoned professionals. It is truly always a mix in my in-person classes, and I love that about burlesque. You can also take online classes, which is why I created my membership, High Vibe Heels. And in the membership, I have hundreds of burlesque and heels classes for all levels. And I created this specifically for this purpose, so that you or anyone else could take classes from the comfort of their own home, get comfortable taking these more sensual styles of dance, and then eventually be able to go take in-person classes and perform. So that is why I created my membership, and I will link all of the information about the membership below. But it is so important, before you even think about performing, that you have some training under your belt. A lot of people these days just want to start dancing burlesque when they've never taken a class, or maybe they've taken 1 or 2 classes. But personally, I trained for years before I started performing, and I think everyone's a little bit different. I think you could take 6 months of training really consistently and be ready to perform. You just have to dedicate the time and the space to doing so. And then once you feel like you have a good understanding of the technique of burlesque, the performance art of burlesque, the dancing side of burlesque, the characterization of burlesque, how to incorporate striptease elements, then it's really important to do some research on what burlesque is. I feel like a lot of burlesque performers, unfortunately, don't know that much about the history of burlesque. And so once you've been training and taking class, like I said, for about 6 months, during that time you can also be doing some research and reading and seeking inspiration in burlesque. If you can't already tell, I am obsessed with burlesque. It is my true passion, and so anything that I can do to learn more about this art form, I will do, whether that's podcasts, reading, watching YouTube videos. I am always immersing myself in information. I feel like the more that you know about burlesque, the better of a performer you're going to be, because it's important to know the history and the people who brought burlesque into the mainstream. I have been reading several books lately, but one of my favorite books that I'm reading right now is Neo Burlesque, and this is talking about the more comedic political side of burlesque, and it gives a lot of examples of different performers who have really incorporated burlesque. It's impactful, it's making political statements, it's feminist, it's all of these things. And so learning the history of burlesque and trying to figure out where your style of burlesque will fit in, I think is really, really important. Then you can kind of know all the options, whether you want to be a comedic performer, whether you want to be a classic performer, maybe you want to incorporate more heels and more dance into your burlesque. The more that you research, the more that you know, the more that you can really start to build a burlesque persona and a burlesque character, which is the next step in the process. So once you've trained, once you've taken in a lot of information and done some research and education, then it's time to craft a persona. This persona is really going to be the jumping off point as a performer. There are a lot of burlesque performers out there. So in order to be able to stand out, I feel like creating a persona and alter ego is such an important part of the process, and it helps you to kind of step into this character that you can take on stage. My character is Layla Lavender. Her color scheme is like lavenders, peach, pastel blue, pink, lots of rhinestones and sparkles. She is like old Hollywood glam, but then my style of burlesque that I perform is a little bit more modern. I incorporate a lot of heels, I incorporate tees, I incorporate a lot of floor work, things like that. So my burlesque persona, I feel like, is very specific, and that helps me as a performer be able to stand out. And again, this is something that I go really deep into in my membership, High Vibe Heels, and a new course that I'm creating all about burlesque performing. So again, I'll link all of that information below. But Pinterest is going to be your best friend when you're creating an alter ego. So pinning a bunch of different images that help invoke the feeling that your persona has, giving them a name, coming up with their style, coming up with the type of performance that they do, the type of burlesque that they do, that's going to give you a really good picture of who you are as a performer, and it's going to help you stand out. Once you have your persona, then you want to develop a signature act. So this act, again, is your jumping off point into the performance world. It's going to be very hard for you to get hired if you don't have some sort of example of what you can do and the style of burlesque that you do. So coming up with an act is a whole process, right? You pick your music, you come up with a storyline, you choreograph, you come up with your costuming, you'll determine where this act is going to take place. Is it going to be on a stage? Are you going to be moving through the crowd and through the audience? All of these things need to be taken into consideration when building your act. Once you have your act, you want to rehearse it until you feel good. So I would say this will take you up until like the 8-9 month mark. I would be rehearsing my piece for at least a month or two. I feel like I most recently am coming out of my show Dreamland Cabaret. I rehearsed my teeth dream for the show like for 3 months. I would constantly change and edit and evolve the piece, and that just makes me as a performer feel very good when I go up on stage. Everyone's different. Some people can throw a routine together and be ready in a week. I'm not that person. I need time to perfect it. So I would say give yourself some time and some space, and then once you're ready to share that routine with the world, then it is time to film your piece. Either have someone film it for you, even if it's just with your iPhone, getting a good video of your choreography, or have someone professionally film your piece. Rent out the space, have your costume go all out, because this is the thing that you're going to be sending to producers, to venues, in order to get booked. So that is the next part of the process. I would say around that 10-month mark is when you can start sending your video, your act, to different producers, venues, and try to get booked. This process could take a few days. It could take a few months. It really just depends on how big burlesque is in your area and how difficult it is to get into those spaces. But I would say just keep sending it out, keep applying for things. It will happen, something will come through. It's just you have to be patient with the process. In the meantime, you don't want to just sit back on your hands and wait for something. You want to be promoting yourself on social media. And even if you haven't done performances yet, you can be taking reels at home. You can get some professional photos taken of yourself in your costume and start marketing yourself on social media. Specifically, Instagram is a great place to grow for burlesque performers. Create an Instagram account with your stage name and just start putting yourself out there. Little clips of you dancing or even tiny clips of your act is a great way to get seen, to build a following, and then continue to be booked and busy. Social media is a huge element of that. And again, it's something we're really gonna dive deeply into in my burlesque performance course. But I would just say experiment, experiment, experiment. I know it can be hard to put yourself out there, but it's really not that serious. This should be a fun part of the process, and just start experimenting with social media, or especially like YouTube. I love YouTube, Instagram. Get yourself out there and it will start to pay off. But this is the part of the process that I feel like some people can tend to get discouraged with if they don't get a gig right away. If you're not booked right away, then some people stop doing it. But if you stop doing that part of the process, then this probably isn't the industry for you, because it does take a lot of hard work and it does take a lot of effort. And even though this trajectory that I'm giving you is 12 months in order to become a performer, because hopefully by that 12-month mark, after you've done all these steps, you will get your first gig booked. But that is a really expedited version of the process. Like I said, I have been doing this for almost 8 years now, which is so crazy. And I love it, and I will continue to grow and evolve and work my ass off so that I can be successful in this industry. So if you incorporate all of these steps that I've given you and you really hustle and you put in some sexy work for an entire year, there is no reason why you should not get booked at a gig or a venue, or maybe even you create your own opportunity after that 12 months is over. But it is fully possible. You just have to set your mind and body to it. But of course, this process can look different for everyone. If you've got a full-time job, maybe it's not feasible for you to squeeze all of this in a year. Like I said, I started in 2018, so we're at like 7 years in burlesque. And really the last few years have been catapulting me into my performance career. Up until then, I honestly was just training and enjoying the process. So this process can look different for everyone, but like I said, if you want to make it happen, you can make it happen. And if you really want to expedite this process, I highly recommend checking out my course or my membership, High Vibe Heels, below. The course that I'm going to be creating is truly a fast track crash course in performance and how to get yourself out there, to get booked and busy, create your act, learn how to choreograph, all the things you're going to need to know for burlesque. And if you are a High Vibe Heels member, my membership actually includes this course for free. So get on it. I will put all of the information below for you babes in the show notes. And I can't wait to see what you all create. I fully believe in you. Anyone can be a showgirl, in my opinion, and I can't wait to see what you do in this beautiful space that is burlesque. Sending you all so much love, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah.